I were to say to you right now, Christopher, what do you like about being white? What would you say?
I don't know. Again, it's such an amorphous term. It's like a census term or a
But
crude
can you do me a favor?
chromatic
Indulge
term.
me. Indulge me for one. Just we're running out of time. Indulge me for a minute. I understand you see it as all these things, but you surely recognize that the world sees you as white. You know the world reads you as white. And if you were to ask me some things I like about being black, I could talk about cultural norms. I could talk about tradition. I could talk about the kind of commonalities I feel around the diaspora. If I were to ask you what, particularly if you're saying whiteness is a thing that is being constructed as negative and shouldn't be, name something positive that you like about being white.
Well, sure. I'll answer with a thing.
You're telling me you're making straw men about things that are ascribed to whiteness that you think are wrongfully ascribed to whiteness. I'm saying if whiteness isn't a negative thing, and there's something that you actually, and that whiteness actually shouldn't be constructed as all negative, name something positive about being, that you believe is positive about being white.
Again, I don't buy into the framework that the world can be reduced into these metaphysical categories of whiteness and black.
Do you know who this lady is? This lovely lady is named Peggy McIntosh, and she had a very important contribution for humanity. You see, she came up with the concept white privilege. She is the person who coined it. Before her, this concept did not exist in anyone's mind, but she has discovered it. And if we look at what she considers to be white privilege, there is a list of 21 things. And the problem here is that at number 19, Peggy McIntosh says, I can speak in public to a powerful male group without putting my race on trial. You lied to me, Peggy! Peggy, you lied to me! Why did you do this, Peggy? My entire life was listening to your wisdom, absorbing your intellect and thinking that this is how the world works. And here before me, I have seen my universe unravel. Your entire ideology crushed in a single interview, Peggy. Why? All jokes aside, though, it's a very smart tactic that this black gentleman is doing here. I mean, I appreciate it. This is what I would want, to have people like this on my side, on the side of liberalism. I want to recruit this man. He is very intelligent and a very, very skilled orator. Like, he knows exactly what he is doing. He is very savvy. His intellect shows wisdom. You see, in the modern American media culture, it's not that this gentleman couldn't articulate why he likes being white, but if he were to do so, if he were to say something positive, then he would set himself up for cancel culture. He would have been like the queen that moves in front of the knight in for a checkmate in the next turn. Do you understand how it's like? Let me put it how it's like. Let me put it in a different way. Imagine if you live in a extreme feminist culture, very radical feminist culture, where if you say the wrong thing, you get cancelled. You say a single thing that's wrong, just a single thing that's negative about women, you get to be fired and you will never have a job again. You get to go to your wife and daughter and they will ask you, like, we're starving, daddy, we're starving, can you bring some food? And you're going to cry. You're like, I can't find a job. The decent people of society have made it so I cannot get a job ever again because I've been a bad man. I said harmful things just this one time. So imagine you live in that society, okay? And a woman asks you, what do you like about being a man? What exactly do you think is good about being a man? And like, you say men shouldn't be talked about in a negative manner. Like, tell me one thing that you think is good about being a man. And you're like, I don't know. I mean, men are really good police officers. So what you're saying is that women cannot be police officers. You're saying that women are inferior. They cannot. Oh my God, what a raging sexist you are. What a raging sexist. That's how the game is played, right? It's not like the man has an interest in seeing what exactly do you have positive to say about white people. No, it's like the moment you said something positive, it means you're a white supremacist. That's how the game is like. And if you're a white supremacist, then you're violating YouTube TOS, then you're encouraging, you're setting yourself up for deplatforming. And that's the game, right? Now, if I were asked what do I like about white people, I would say Joe Biden. Joe Biden. I think like white people have gave Joe Biden to the world. You know, like without white people, there would be no Joe Biden. There you go. Come on, attack me for that. Attack. I'm setting myself up. I'm right here. I love Joe Biden. I love him and the Democrats. Without white people, you wouldn't have the Democrats. Karl Marx, brilliant answer. You can't go wrong with him. Okay, anti-racism. Name me a non-white nation which is funding anti-racism in their universities. Come on, this is an achievement we need to be proud of. Name me a country. Is China doing it? No, China isn't doing it. Do you know how China calls anti-racism? I mean, look here, you bigot. Baizuo, pronounced Baizuo, is a Chinese epithet meaning naive, Western educated person who advocated for peace and equality only to satisfy their own feeling of moral superiority. A Baizuo only cares about topics such as immigration, minorities, LGBT, and the environment, while being obsessed with political correctness to the extent that they import backwards Islamic values for the sake of multiculturalism. The Chinese see the Baizuo as ignorant and arrogant Westerners who pity the rest of the world and think they are the saviors. Horrible, isn't it? I mean, do you see how they treat the concept? Do you think you're going to get critical race theory in a Chinese university anytime soon with this mentality? So here's the question, right? If you're asked, what are you proud of being white? Well, I'm proud of the Democrats. I'm proud of Joe Biden. I'm proud of Karl Marx. And I'm definitely proud of the critical race theory. Now, if you're saying I shouldn't be, if you're saying should I be ashamed of these things? And then you turn it around. This is what it means to be a skilled rhetoric. I mean, if you want to live in a liberal society and you want to believe in the teachings of Martin Luther King and you're part of the ideology that sparked the civil rights movement, then I got bad news for you, but apparently it turns out you're a colorblind racist. Because how can you see injustices if you don't see race? Okay, that's what the progressives will say. That's what the wordsmiths and the word manipulators will tell you. I know how to explain it to them so that they understand. Because they're like, you know, when you go to a university, your brain gets flooded with all useless information. So it doesn't function the same way that normal people have their brain. So let me put it this way. You know the idea of gender abolition that is being pushed heavily right now, where people say that experts claim that a person can identify with whatever gender they want. All right. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't see gender. Like, it doesn't mean that if you were to see that people who identify as a different gender than their sex can't be discriminated against. It doesn't mean like you can't look at society and you can still see the discrimination. No, but what that means is that you're going to treat them the same as any other person, right? Like that's what color blindness means. It's like gender blindness. It's literally the same concept. Well, it's actually not literally the same because I guess like color blindness is race abolitionism if you think about it, because you then treat people based on the character of their personality. Like what it means is that if I want to hire people for a job, I need to come up with a standardized test. So, for example, I would be like, can you pick up this rock? I don't care about your height. I don't care about your race. I don't care about your gender. I don't care about, can you pick the fucking rock? Yes or no? That's simple. Okay, you simplify everything to a standardized test. The only thing you care about is probably the age. Because even if the 12-year-old manages to pick up the rock, it's illegal to put him in the labor force. Okay? Another thing that I'm proud of. Look, Karl Marx did that, so, but, okay. Now, why is this important? Well, it's important because back a couple of years ago, even The Guardian was asking for these standardized tests. You know, they were asking for companies to cover the names of the people sending resumes so that they don't know by the name whatever ethnicity or whatever gender the person is, because studies show that people are less likely to hire based on certain nationalities in some countries. And I'm all for that, by the way. Like, I'm all for that. Like, that increases the merit. I mean, if you have a good resume, it shouldn't matter what name you got, right? So that was like then. But now, the same publication is saying, no, you shouldn't have, like, blind auditions. You shouldn't hire people without knowing. You need to see their skin color. You need to discriminate properly. By strategically discriminating, only in such a way can we make society just. And now we have like a completely different ideology that's not liberal, that isn't trying to help people to grow up. Because when you have like a standardized test, like can you pick up the rock? At the end of the day, it's probably that rock requires picking, right? Because otherwise the test wouldn't be there. So you try to pick up the rock and you can't. And what ends up happening is that, well, maybe in the future, like you go to the gym, you work hard, and then you can pick up the freaking rock. And if you can never pick up the rock, like maybe rock picking isn't for you. Maybe you should go to a university or a school and do something else, learn to code or something. That doesn't require the skill to pick up rocks. Like, let me give you the perfect example, okay? The difference between Romania and the difference between the West right now. So, in the West right now, I have seen many articles complaining that rich parents manage to help their kids learn better at school. They function better at school because the rich parents are pumping more money into their kids. And the solution from leftist activists is to figure out a way to stop that. Like, get that to stop so that every kid can be on an equal level. Right? Every child is to be on an equal level. We can't have like children benefiting because the parents are helping them out. Do you know how they do it in Romania? Like in Romania, there is this very, very difficult exam before you go into a university. And the grade that you take in that exam determines the rest of your life. Because if you have a high grade, you can do a university for free. If you get a low grade, then you can't get into a university without paying. So many students are being disadvantaged by this. Why? Because some parents hire teachers. So they will go to a math teacher, they will pay around, I don't know, like $25 per hour. And then their kid goes to that math teacher outside of class, and the math teacher tutors him and helps him study better math to get a better grade at this test, right? The problem is that a lot of people who aren't rich, people who are poor, can't afford to do this. So how does the left-leaning politicians of Romania try to tackle this problem? Because it is a problem, right? Like at the end of the day, it's not fair. And the way they're tackling the problem is by trying to create a government program to fund teachers, to find volunteers who will spend time after class in order to try to help the needy parents. So it's not like how do we get people down, but it's how do we get people up. Like, you already have people who are up. Like, how can we get more people to the level? But in the way it's in the West, it's like, okay, we got people who are up. How can we get them down to the level of the other people, right? Because it's not an ideology that tries to help people up. It's not an ideology that tries to help you pick up the rock. It's an ideology, it's like, how can we get people who can't pick up the rock to get in through the back door? And by the way, like, this would be nice and fun if you were in an isolated vacuum. But there are other nations in the world that don't use these tactics. And at the end of the day, they will have the people who can pick up the rock that are being represented. And you have the culture that encourages you to pick up the rock. Meanwhile, other countries who get people in the back door are not going to have the same advantage when competing with the people that can do the proper test. And this applies to every field, okay? Like rock picking is just like a hypothetical. But like eventually, if this keeps up, if this trend keeps up, you're going to end with discernible. Like you're going to end with a place where people who shouldn't be in positions of power end up being in positions of power because of nepotism. And then reality catches up and you go like, boom. Right? I guess we're going to have to wait for that again. Anyway, right, so going back to this like really dumb question, it's like, can you say like a good thing that white people are doing? It's like, I can say Beethoven, okay? I can say Beethoven, but like the thing is, and this is why I don't identify with this mindset. I don't write classical music. I've never did. I mean, even if I were to write classical music, I don't ever think I would be able to reach the level of Beethoven. And as such, I can't like look at Beethoven and take his accomplishments and put it to my own. Because it doesn't feel right. To me, personally, it feels like stolen valor. Like, I can appreciate Beethoven's music. I can say, like, it's a great contribution that he did. But I don't think Beethoven himself would have said, yeah, like, this is for the white people. And he's going. So I just don't have the mindset. I'm not saying this because of YouTube TOS, by the way. I just wanted to make sure, because I see people in the comment section being like, oh, yes, it's like, you're just saying that. No, like, legitimately. Like, honest to God, I just don't feel like that. I mean, even the contributions that my father did, I can't put them into my own. Like, I'm only proud of the things that I do. Now, I can look at other people and see, well, if they did it, then so can I. And I can use that as motivation. That is something else entirely, right? Like, I can say, well, this person managed to do it, so can I. I need to be able to do it as well. It's possible. Look, that person managed to do it. Joe Biden managed to become the president of the United States. By God damn it, so can I. You know, like that is the mindset that I can have. But I wouldn't look like, okay, Joe Biden is the president of the United States. That is a contribution for people like me. Or he represents me because, like, and I think, like, the reason that this is just completely broken out of my head is because the communists tried to force people in communes. Like, the idea that communists had is that if you put people to live together, you force them to live together, as long as they have the same profession, as long as they have, like, the same class and the same uprising, that they're going to get together as a family and they're going to collaborate and they're going to work together. Nothing was more disastrous than that. Okay, like, it doesn't fit. At least not for me. Like, maybe other people love it. I don't know. To me, it feels like high school. Like a high school that you can't live away from. Like, you're always stuck there. You can't walk out. And I didn't have a pleasant experience during high school. Let me put it that way. But yeah, so that's what I think. And obviously, you know, this video itself is dangerous because you're not allowed to say anything positive or disagree. And that's why the black gentleman doing the interview there was very smart and very savvy because he placed the person in a position where it's like, come on, say the wrong thing. Just say the wrong thing, okay? Because he's not interested in hearing the answer. All he's interested about is like, come on, just say one thing that I can interpret so that I can cancel you or my audience can cancel you. And I think the interviewee managed to do a good job in getting out of that situation. But yeah, I mean, it's an uncomfortable thing. And you also have to take into account, okay, if you're part of the majority in a country, you're probably less likely to be conscientious about it. Like, from a study, it shows that only 15% of white people are conscientious with the fact of their race. But I'm pretty sure if you go in, I don't know, South Africa or in Tibet, then you'll get to be conscientious. I mean, I guess I'm conscientious of my nationality on the internet. You know, like, I talk to someone else and he's Romanian. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So there's that. But when you're part of the majority, it's completely different. Here's a perfect example, and with this, I'll end the video. Everyone in Romania is Orthodox Christian, okay? Like, when you hear that someone is a Christian, by default, you're thinking that he's an Orthodox. When you meet an evangelical, a person that's not part of the Orthodoxy, they're very outspoken about their religion. They're very proud about their religion. That they socialize more with other evangelicals. I don't think it's the same in the United States. Like, I think the things are reversed there. Like, I think evangelicals who are in the majority, especially the evangelical community, are going to view themselves differently than someone that's an Orthodox Christian, because the Orthodox Christians in the United States are the minority, and they're probably very proud about their religion. They're probably very proud about their communities and whatnot. So yeah, like, being part of a minority in a majority country, you get a different mindset. You get a completely different feel. And the evangelicals in Romania help each other out. Like, whenever someone experiences a problem, like maybe someone's car breaks down, all the other pitch in and they pay money to help him. I don't know if that happens in America with the evangelicals, but I'm pretty sure it happens with the Orthodox Christians. Like, they're probably, oh my God, like, one of us has a problem. Let's help him out. Anyway, you know, like, let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. This Week is Stupid is coming up tomorrow. It's a really great video. Hopefully you guys are going to check it out, and I'll see you there.